I never used to think twice about Walmart. It was just a place. Bright lights, cheap groceries. The kind of store you go to when you don't want to think. That's probably why what happened there stuck with me so deeply, because nothing about it felt dramatic at first. Nothing felt like a warning. It all blended into normal life so well that by the time I realized something was wrong, it already felt too late. The first time, I was living in a quiet suburb in the Midwest. One of those places where every house looked similar and nights were so still you could hear the hum of distant traffic. I lived alone back then, worked long hours, kept to myself. That night was completely ordinary. I'd come home from work, dropped my keys in the bowl by the door, fed my cat, and realized I was out of a few basics. Cat litter, paper towels, toothpaste. Walmart was the only place open that late. I remember standing in my kitchen, debating whether it was worth going out. It was already close to 10. I almost decided to wait until morning, but something about an empty litter box bothered me, so I grabbed my jacket and left. The drive there was uneventful. Radio low. Streets mostly empty. When I pulled into the parking lot, I noticed how few cars were there. That should have been my first red flag, but at the time it just felt peaceful. The big blue Walmart sign glowed against the dark sky, like it always did. Inside, the store felt hollow. The kind of quiet that makes your footsteps sound louder than they should. A few employees restocking shelves. One cashier near the front. That was it. I grabbed a cart and headed toward the back. As I moved through the aisles, I started to feel that subtle awareness you get when someone's nearby. Not fear, just presence. I glanced up and saw a man a few aisles over. Baseball cap pulled low. Hoodie zipped up, nothing unusual. We passed each other without incident. A few minutes later, I saw him again. Same aisle. He wasn't shopping. No cart. Just standing there, looking at the shelves without touching anything. When I stopped, he stopped too. I remember thinking it was odd, but Walmart attracts all kinds of people. He kept going. The third time I saw him, my stomach tightened just a little. Different aisle. Same distance behind me. I told myself I was imagining it, that my brain was filling in patterns that weren't there. Still, I started moving faster. I went down an aisle I didn't need, then turned around and came back. He followed. That's when I felt it. That slow, heavy feeling in your chest when your body realizes something before your mind does. I didn't confront him. I didn't say anything. I just headed for the checkout, heart beating harder with every step. I could feel him behind me. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel watched. At the register, I kept my eyes forward. I paid, grabbed my bag, and walked straight out the doors. The parking lot felt colder, quieter. I loaded my trunk quickly, hands shaking more than I wanted to admit. When I turned around, I saw him sitting in a dark sedan a few spaces away, engine running, headlights off. He didn't look at me, just sat there. I go to my car and lift. On the drive home, I checked my mirrors constantly. At first, I didn't see him. I started to relax. Then, at the third intersection, I noticed a pair of headlights behind me. Same distance, same turns. I told myself it was coincidence. This was the route to the neighborhood. Lots of people lived that way. After a few blocks, the car turned off. Relief washed over me so fast I actually laughed, out loud. Alone in my car, when I got home, I locked the door, fed my cat, and went to bed. I told myself the whole thing was nothing, just a creepy vibe. Just my imagination. The next morning, I opened my front door to leave for work and almost stepped on something. A Walmart receipt, folded neatly, tucked under my doormat. Same store, same time, same items. I bought. I stood there, staring at it, my mind scrambling for explanations. Maybe it blew out of my bag. Maybe someone found it in the parking lot and thought it belonged to me. None of it made sense. I threw it away and tried to forget. But from that day on, I started noticing small things. My porch light flickering when it hadn't before. Footsteps on the sidewalk late at night. Once, I thought I saw a car idling down the street with its lights off. I never proved anything. Nothing ever happened directly. I moved a few months later for unrelated reasons. But even now, I still think about that receipt. Years passed before the second Walmart experience. Long enough that I'd convinced myself the first one was just bad luck. By then, I was married. We lived in a townhouse complex in Canada. Quiet, friendly, predictable. Life felt stable. Safe. One Sunday afternoon, my wife asked me to pick up groceries. The Walmart was busy, bright, loud, with families and carts clattering over tile. I remember thinking how different it felt from that quiet store years earlier. That's probably why I didn't take the feeling seriously at first. I noticed a woman near the frozen foods. She was standing still, phone in her hand, not scrolling, just holding it. When I glanced at her, she looked away. I shrugged it off. A few aisles later, she was there again. Same calm expression. Same faint smile. I caught a reflection in the freezer glass watching me. I started feeling stupid, paranoid. This was a crowded store. She could have been anyone. Still, the feeling wouldn't go away. At checkout, she stood directly behind me. Tall, close enough that I could feel her presence without turning around. As I paid, she leaned in slightly and whispered my last name. Not my first name, my last name. This is the same story. The same Walmart. The same life I was living before things started to feel wrong. Nothing has changed since the last moment I told you about. I'm still the same person, in the same routine, carrying the same unease with me. What you're about to hear, isn't. A new experience, it is. What happened next? The tension never went away. It followed me. And this time, it didn't feel accidental anymore. I turned around, confused, heart pounding. She smiled, like we shared a joke. Then she walked away, leaving her cart behind. I didn't tell my wife right away. I didn't want to sound crazy. That night, the doorbell rang at 2 in the morning. When I checked the porch, there was a Walmart bag sitting on the mat. Inside were the exact groceries I'd bought earlier. No note. No explanation. I didn't sleep that night. For weeks afterward, I felt watched. I checked the windows repeatedly. Every sound outside made my heart race. Nothing else happened. No messages. No sightings. Eventually, life moved on. The third time was the one that broke whatever denial I had left. This was in Washington State. Just before everything shut down for the pandemic, I stopped at Walmart after work. Late, tired, just trying to get home. The store was nearly empty. The air felt thick. Quiet, in a way that pressed in on you. I noticed a man standing just inside the entrance. Not shopping, not greeting. Just watching people come and go. His eyes followed me as I passed. Inside, I felt that familiar tension return. The electronics section was dim. I heard footsteps behind me. Slow. Measured. When I stopped, they stopped. In the parking lot, my car hesitated when I turned the key. Panic surged through me. When the engine finally started, I saw him in my rearview mirror, standing behind my car, smiling. I drove home, shaking. 2 nights later, there was a Walmart bag hanging from my doorknob. I didn't open it. I called the police. They never found anyone. I moved again. Farther this time. Even now, I don't shop late at night anymore. I park under lights. I check reflections. And every time I pass a Walmart after dark, I feel it again. That quiet awareness, like someone remembers me. If you've ever felt watched in a place that should feel safe, I want you to tell me about it. Leave your story in the comments. And if you enjoy these slow, true stories, consider subscribing and sharing this with someone who understands that sometimes the scariest things don't scream. He just wait.